Need to go to YouTube. Let me see. Um, it's probably gonna. There's probably gonna be some sort of a delay, right?
Yeah, there's about 20-second delay. And I will get the link. Oh, there it is. We are live.
There
Let
we
me
go.
let me share this. All right, come on. Okay. Paste and post.
How's the audio? Good.
Yeah,
My audio.
audio, everything sounds good. If anybody's already listening, let us know. But yeah, audio sounds real good, actually.
Well, good. I think where we left off with part one of Breeding Retics 101 was we were talking about, where I'm currently at, which is my Kaiwadi was, I think, super deep in shed. She's now shed out. Um, and I did throw the mail in with her, and you can kind of give me your assessment, Rodney, but I threw the mail in with her. Um, he was showing some breeding behavior, arching, trying to kind of lock up, but didn't see any locks. And then I was feeding some of my other females and stuff like that, and she was basically slamming the glass and showing signs that she's hungry after going off food. So what's your assessment, Rodney, with that situation? What have you kind of seen,
Uh,
with
I've
females in the
seen,
past?
you know, chances are, because she kind of refused, right? Like
Yeah,
that.
she refused. Yeah.
Yeah, so that might have been a refusal going into shed.
Mm,
And sometimes what you will see is retics and berms especially. You see that a lot with berms doing that with food. They'll like piss around with food. They'll act like they want to eat it, then they act like they don't want to eat, then they'll eat it, or they'll take a small meal, or they'll take one rat. You know what I mean? So that's probably what she's doing. So she might be pretty early into follicle development, so that's why you're seeing some ups and downs in her behavior.
right.
If I had to guess, I would say that's what's going on. I have a big Sunfire double hit het Indo Anthrax right now, and I can see she's starting to swell up, but she must not be putting off much scent because the male I put him in. I mean, I really thought she was ready, and this was just this week, and nothing. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because she's been on the cold side. And so I take the mail out and I walk in with rabbits into the room. Man, she's right at the glass, hitting the glass. So yeah, you know, she's just not quite as far along as I thought she was. So I mean,
Yeah.
I credit to Joe Hall because he did say something, on that one podcast. He was like, after a shed, test them,
Yeah.
so that way you don't miss them. So that's a really good piece of advice, I think. But I don't get discouraged either. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because every time we put our snakes together, we want them to lock up, but they'll lock up when they're ready to lock up. So
Yeah. And you gave me a good piece of advice too, because I've got basically two males on breeder loan, and my super fan of male from Andrew has refused food,
yeah,
and I did kind of swap enclosures to see if he would react and start arching or anything like that. And yeah, that dude's just hanging out chilling.
oh
Yeah.
really? He didn't react much.
Yeah, 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 absolutely nothing out of that guy. But no, it's been super interesting. And talking to Mason out of Salt Lake. I know last episode we talked about how critical weather is when it comes to breeding. It's been probably the weirdest winter we've ever had in Utah.
Yeah,
Maybe even in history, but especially since I've been here about 12 years. We've had almost no snow whatsoever.
hmm.
We usually have 6 to 8 inches on the ground, you know, at all times right now. So
Hmm.
it is kind of a wonky winter. And the one other thing that I did notice, because my other two females are officially in shed as well, but both of them over the course of the last few weeks, not just obviously from eating, but noticeably they're thickening up. So that's been one kind of big thing that I've just noticed, and just being in the snake room. So it's been good, and I think, yeah, I think you're 100% right. Just not getting discouraged. I think Joe gave a profound piece of advice where you throwing a mail in after the sheds, and kind of going from there. What are some other pieces of advice you usually give people right around this stage where they're testing things out, they're throwing mails in, you know, confirmed locks, not confirmed locks? Like what are you usually telling people?
Well, I would probably like after your female digests that,
Hmm.
I would try again.
Okay.
Honestly, I'd try again. Because I mean, she's right there. She's getting close, and plus this will be her first time breeding, so all that's that she's gone through the motions, but that's all new. You know what I mean? It's all new to her. So
Right.
you know, but like I have like the Mindanaos. They don't follow that whole don't want to eat stuff. I like Mindanaos. I bet you I don't feed them while they're gravid, but I bet you they would eat.
That's crazy.
They would eat the
That's
whole way
crazy.
through. You
Yeah.
know, because I have two gravid Mindanaos right now, and um, they were both right at the glass when they smelled those rabbits.
Yeah.
So they don't. Not all of them kind of follow the rules there. So um, yeah. After she digests, what I would do is I would try her again, and if there's still no interest, I'd hit her with another meal, um, and try to push that along a little bit.
Yeah.
Because maybe she needs a little bit more. Maybe she needs a little bit more food to help with some follicle development. Maybe or follicle development's just doing what it's doing, and it's just not there yet. So they know what they need. So you know that's really all you can do is um, you can offer them food and you can try to breed them. Outside of that, you're not really going to talk them into much.
Well, yeah, yeah, 100%. And I mean, are there any, because I think and this is just talking to breeders that have, tried breeding or bred before me, but I think it's really easy, and I think it's really easy, especially when you're trying to get started, to start overthinking stuff,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, hey, are my temps way off or something like that? What's kind of your advice for people that start, like, dinking around with everything, and they're trying to, overcomplicate the process?
Well, as long as your temps are okay and your females going through the motions. So if you got something that appears to be going through the motions, the last thing you want to do is start messing with stuff. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I would, yeah, let it. Dude, my advice always is let them alone.
Yeah.
You know,
As
if
much as
it's
possible, right?
yeah, yeah. Chris, what's up? Chris is saying hi. Randy, what's up, Randy? Uh, Derek said weather is crazy in Tennessee. Uh, Said it's my first season, but my females have not refused food. I have seen swelling in locks after shed. Yeah, and yeah, not all females refuse food, man. Like it's just what it is. Alex said they are the world's endless dumpster. So Derek says, so fingers crossed. Yeah, yeah, not refusing food is not. It's that's yeah. If you got the wrong retic, if you wait for them to go off food, then you'll never breed your snakes. 'Cause sometimes they just don't quit eating.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and how do you know when that process goes from, hey, I'm introducing the male, you know, and now she's gravid. Like, what are you typically seeing physically in the female from that process to she's actually gravid? Like, how long does that usually take?
Well, I usually consider my snakes gravid before I see that large localized swelling. Like
Mm.
that's when you know, because those follicles are actually moved up and getting shelled. That's actually what that follicle. That's because everyone calls that an ovulation. Well, ovulation happens prior to fertilization. So, like everything else in reptiles, what we say something is completely wrong. So, so yeah, like you know, those follicles have been fertilized. So whenever they start getting that really like stiff, swollen, tight lower body, and I mean, and it's you'll know when you see it because they're like rock hard almost. That's and by that time they've quit breeding. You know, as soon as they, if you have a breeding pair, as soon as they stop breeding, you can go ahead and assume, like, if you're putting the male in and they were locking up and now they're not doing anything, that's when you know they're gravid.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, you can know they're gravid long before that localized swelling.
And how long? Because I've heard before too with some people pull the male too early, right? And that's sometimes an issue. What have you seen with breeders or mistakes that they've made with pulling males or not leaving them in long enough or whatever?
I think the only way you can pull a male too early is if you started putting it in too early.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so like if you're putting the snake in too early, and because a lot of times a male will try to lock. Like I was trying to breed this one snake Andrew had here because I thought she was ready, but it looks like she needs one more shed. Um, and I mean, it looked like the male had locked her, but it didn't. You know what I mean? So I think that's what people, people are seeing, a male having their tail up under the females and they're assuming they're getting a lock. They're not always, that's not necessarily a lock. So a lot of times, you're pulling you're thinking your snakes are breeding. Like, not to be a dick, but a new person, like what I saw a week and a half ago with that snake, people would have thought that was a lock, and it wasn't. So that's a situation where somebody who's new to this would have definitely thought their snakes were locked up, and they weren't at all.
Right. Well, and that's something I observed with this last intro. I mean, it looked like they were locked up, but it was, he was off. It was not a confirmed, because
Yeah,
you'll know it's very apparent that they're like, it's like glue,
yeah,
and they're wrapped up and everything like that. I could definitely tell the male was making his attempts, but
yeah,
it wasn't, she just was not, she was just not having it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I mean, and that's just, yeah. She might need one more shed. She might need another meal or two, or might just need a couple weeks. Might just be a follicle thing.
yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit. I don't think we talked about this on the first kind of episode that we shot, but when it comes to compatibility, because right now in the retic space, it's kind of an interesting time where I think more than ever before we're taking mainlands, dwarfs or localities, super dwarfs, and everyone's kind of trying to mix everything. So, talk a little bit about compatibility issues, things that you've seen with your own stuff. I know Mason has had some experiences too, but talk a little bit about, some of those different things you've seen.
I don't know if there's a compatibility issue versus. I think it's more of a male that's just not a real strong breeder.
Mm,
If I'm being honest, I don't think there's really a compatibility issue. I think there's, and mainland to superdwarf crosses, you'll see more of that. So I don't know if that's a subspecies slash species cross issue, but honestly, anytime I've had a compatibility, quote unquote, compatibility issue, it's been with a male that's just never been a strong breeder across the board, to be
mm.
honest. Like, I really don't think it's so much of a compatibility as it's just a strong versus weak breeder male.
And do you think there's anything you can do to, I don't know, make a male a stronger breeder? Do you think that's just purely genetic? Is it lack of food? Like, what is there any things that you've seen with that?
I think it's mostly it's probably a genetic thing, to be honest. So having a weak breeder that doesn't breed isn't necessarily a bad thing because you're just going to make more weak breeders, chances are. Um, but I mean, the only thing I've done to try to get like sometimes like young males, they might not be there might, especially if they're small, they're not really the strongest breeder sometimes. But what you can do is you can swap them, swap males' cages with each other and let
Mm,
them sit in there, let them get a little worked up, let them get some testosterone going. But sometimes that will help. I have done that and had it work.
had some good success with that.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of just, um, when we're talking about, once again, I mean, the whole purpose of kind of putting this information out is we're going through some of the ups and downs of first time breeder like myself, and kind of learning behaviors and physical things that you're seeing out of your females. I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and forth in my brain, like, is she actually cycling? Is she
Yeah.
not? Like, I can't. It's been so many different times, and once again, I think until you have experience, physically watching a female go through it, or kind of feel, some of the changes, or see some of the changes in the behavior. The big thing that I've noticed with my Coyote with this last shed, because I don't know what your experience has been. Maybe it's humidity, whatever, but I would say my average shed for a lot of my snakes, it's like once I first start seeing them going to shed to when they actually shed out,
Yeah.
5 to 7 days, maybe sometimes sooner. But with this last shed, it was like going on almost 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And
sometimes they sit in shed for a while.
it was, I mean, and granted, it's been what, 3.5 months since her last shed cycle. So that was one thing that was kind of actually a little bit shocking to me. I even soaked her like every other day, just trying to help, and if she was trying to shed, she just simply wasn't moving. Like,
Yeah.
she was just being lazy, and I feel like she didn't want to shed out, and so that was the one kind of big thing that I feel like has changed with her, because, like I said, her normal kind of shed cycle, I would say, is about 5 to 7 days from when I
Hmm.
first noticed she's going into shed. Um, and so, and then when she did start shedding out, once again, she just didn't want to move. So she shed out all of her belly scales first, and then it was another like 4 days until she shed out kind of everything else.
Now,
So,
usually when they're in that mode, they're usually still on the cold side.
mm, yeah,
So if she was in the coldest spot of her cage, that would make sense. They usually just kind of sit there.
yeah, she just wasn't moving. She
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah,
Yes.
just acting like herself. So I was like, oh, I mean, I think these are all still really good signs.
Yeah.
But when you when you call your shot from 3 4 months ago, it's it becomes a long waiting period. You know what I mean? Um, and so what's kind of the protocol? Because these are just some of the random questions that have kind of come to mind. Because you do see people posting videos and pictures on Instagram and Facebook of that large swelling that
Hmm.
happens post ovulation fertilization.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything that you should be doing with the females at that point? Obviously, they're kind of off food; they're kind of just hanging out. Are you doing anything different with them? Is there anything else that you should be looking for? Do you kind of just let them chill and do their thing and swell up and grow and have eggs develop?
I try to leave them alone as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to leave them alone. And some people worry about cleaning the cage and stuff. I don't. I don't worry about that. If they need their cages, like a lot of people say, hey, after that swelling and after that shed, you don't want to touch them. Blah blah blah. And if they're on some mulch and you can spot clean, that helps. But if they're on paper, like I've never had like long time ago, there was like people were like thought they were super fragile and you couldn't touch it.
touch them at all.
Yeah, but now I fucking move them around all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Um, I'm trying to think if there's any other and Chad, if you guys have questions about kind of this phase of breeding, feel free to throw them in the chat.
yeah,
We can
yeah.
you
Any
know address them
questions?
and go off
Hit
of
us with
that.
them.
Um, so we've talked about well, let's talk about the kind of the mail protocol, I guess, during that same time. So you're kind of tossing the mail in with the female. What should you be doing with those males? Obviously, you want to be careful. We talked a little bit about that on the last or part one because they are in breeding mode. They do strike a little bit different and things like that. But I mean, is there any protocol with the males or pulling them, putting them in? What's kind of the protocol on that side?
Um, Pretty much anything for there's a lot. I've over the years I've tried a lot of like put the male in, leave the male in, put the male in for X amount of days, pull the male out. I don't really do any of that stuff anymore. But I in case you have a male that tends to go off feed, make sure your males aren't underweight going into breeding season. Because if you have a male that wants to go off feed, it's going to lose a lot of weight. If you're breeding it to more than one female, it's going to get pretty skinny pretty quick. So just make sure your males aren't underfed going into breeding season. That's the biggest thing that you need to probably do is make sure they're at their proper body weight.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and going along with that, let's talk about male size because I think that's also important too. Like, um, what do you typically shoot for if you have kind of a new breeder male that you're wanting to use? Like, some of the things you're doing leading up to breeding season? Obviously, you want to be feeding them enough, but what are some of the things that you're looking for to be like, hey, I this guy's got a really good chance of breeding this year?
Honestly, I pop them, see if they got sperm. That's that's how I test them. Yeah, because I had one of the smallest retics I ever seen that wasn't a super dwarf. Was ready. Was I think it was the Phantom I sold to Brian Carlson. That snake was producing sperm at like 4.5 feet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean
Pretty small.
it wasn't a pure super. I had super dwarf in it, but it was 50% turn eight and a bunch of other shit. Um, so that's usually what I do. I just pop them to make sure they're producing sperm. But um, a lot of super dwarf males, they'll be producing sperm between 4 and 5 feet. Um, Ternates typically 5 feet. Males will actually be producing sperm. The Mindanao seem to be need to be bigger than that, more around that 5 or 6. And mainlands are real. I'd say mainlands are actually the least consistent for
Mm.
for they're if you want to play it safe with them, they need to be bigger. There sometimes you'll get a 6 foot mainland that is producing sperm and because I got a pecan and it's right around 6 foot and it's there's nothing. I already checked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
At 6 feet, that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty decent size.
yeah. So that snake's probably going to need to be 8 feet, but it's also young. So I mean, if it's like if it's fed, pretty conservatively, and it takes 2 years to get to 6 feet versus a 9 month, a 6 foot that's only 9 months old. So there's that too. So it's a little bit. I think there's a little bit of an age thing there too. So
Yeah, they need some age on them. They need some seasoning.
yeah, and that's the reason I'm not going to have Pecan Mindanaus this season because he just
Just not
wasn't
ready
quite.
because you just picked him up, right? Like
Yeah,
not that long ago.
yeah. I picked him up and put him in this female's cage the same day. But then I checked him. I was like, "Fuck, he's not. He doesn't got the yeah, not yet."
Well, it's interesting. Is he the one that you technically bought a few months ago and you
Yeah, and it just
put it
then
out?
I bought it and the temperatures
Right.
plummeted like 12 hours later, and we finally just got a shipping window. So, like, if I could have got him a couple months ago, with it being a mainland, I could have put a foot on the snake, no problem. So,
Right. Right. No, I mean, it's interesting because once again, when you haven't done something and you're trying to learn and trying to look for things, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you where you're like, hey, is this actually happening, or what should I actually be looking for out of these interactions or out of these behaviors from my female or from my
yeah.
male. I think I told you that I might have already mentioned it, that my super phantom has kind of refused food a couple different times.
Mhm.
So I don't know what's going on there. I mean, he could be smelling one of the females and, you know, trying to ramp up for some of that. But um, no, I think it's interesting, and it's exciting, and everybody kind of has a different journey on the breeding side. When you talk to breeders, it's always there's always a lot of variability in terms of what they're shooting for, what they actually get,
Yeah.
how plans change over time. I forget who asked me on one of my lives of, you know, from 4 years ago when I originally bought a lot of my projects, has any of your projects changed, or, you know, have you pivoted in any way? And absolutely I have, and I think, uh, I made some adjustments going into this season of what I wanted to do, but even now, looking ahead, looking at potentially next season and the season after that, I think it's changed quite a bit as well. Um,
Yeah, I change my shit all the time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think you have to. I think you have to have kind of an open mind to making those adjustments. And it's not just so much. It is based off of your animals for sure, but I think it's also based on what's currently happening in the market. And so talk a little bit about that, Rodney, because I think you do a really good job of adjusting and making some of those pivots if it's before or during breeding season. And so talk a little bit about just your strategy behind making a plan and then executing on it.
Well, real quick, I'll give you I made a hard pivot into Mocha after spending a decade saying Mocha doesn't look enough like an albino.
Right.
So they're going to be tough to sell. And I was basing that on how, one, how they look, and two, what the result has been of a lot of the Mocha morph combos that have been less than impressive. But as more stuff has come on the market, like Pecan, a lot more stuff like Ocelot, and some high silver stuff that's popped up in my collection, I was like, well, it's not, Mocha's not working great with some of this stuff, but there's an avenue to really do some cool stuff with Mocha. So I mean, I completely pivoted and got into Mocha. Um, you know, that's an opportunity I see to make some really nice stuff. So that's like I guess that's more like long term stuff.
Mm.
But for this season, um, I had a male Fractalus that I was going to run to a Maluku, and he was being a dickhead. Um, he's always in feed mode. He bit two females. Just and I was like, you know what? I was like, I was really wanted to do that Fractalus Mindanao breeding, and I was like, you know what? I have the wild caught male that makes both Fractalus and Apocalypto. He's part of both of those lines, and he's got a lot. It's got some decent yellow to him, some decent silver, and I was thinking strictly about back pattern with the Fractalus, so I was like, you know what? He's being a dickhead. He's trying to kill everything because he's always in feed mode. So I went with the wild caught male based on because he's an awesome breeder. Uh, the decent silver, some really nice yellows, and his back pattern's 70%, 75% of that of a Fractalus or an Apocalypto.
Right. Right.
So I was like, let me get instead of just strictly worrying about back pattern, let me add a little yellow, let me add a little silver, and I should get cool back patterns anyway. So that was a pivot there that I did. That was a big pivot, and that might not seem like much, but that was just kind of a judgment call too. I was like, well, I can worry about one thing, or I can try to hit really good colors and side patterns and back patterns. Because the first Malukus we did, or Falukus we did, that was strictly for color. That Andrew wanted Faluku um, tribals, and I was like, well, I want some really really wide color. So we did that breeding with a very specific ternate that has a lot of side banding and a lot of color. So that but this one here, I was like, all right, I need more of a Swiss Army knife color pattern, and then so I ended up switching up for that. But all my production is based around like the results I'm getting. So I constantly change what I'm doing, and it's all based around specific animals. It's never, if I have a plan and my production isn't you know corroborating with that plan, then I don't follow through. I change the plan
Right. Right.
because I want to make the best looking stuff possible. I'm not trying to I don't want to make the same looking snake for 15 years. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think that's, I mean, I think that's the allure of the creative side or the breeding side for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Because once again, it's like I know pretty much nothing when it comes to breeding at this point. But I can see as you start to breed, if you have kind of a creative eye for, color and pattern and kind of seeing how some of these genetics work, that it would be really, really fun to start trying to breed for certain traits,
Yeah.
or having kind of your own look to, certain morphs or localities or combination or whatever. And it's like that. I think that's the cool part, you know. Um, and one of my favorite kind of videos that Garrett used to put out were, his egg hatching videos slash holdback videos.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people had different opinions on which ones he was holding back, and I had a different taste even, than the ones that Garrett picked out for different reasons. But I think that's where kind of the creativity piece of breeding comes into play. If you're a creative person or kind of a visual person like that, I think that's the part where it can get really, really fun, you know. And then not to mention obviously producing your own stuff and then raising that stuff up and utilizing that for projects in the future. That's got to be super fulfilling,
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah, and one thing when it comes to picking holdbacks, it's there's always some snake that stands out, right? In a clutch. There's always a standout animal. But that's not always the animal. I mean, a lot of times you need to keep that animal, but a lot of times these standout animals are just brighter,
Mm,
and they don't necessarily have the best pattern. They don't necessarily. So, if you're going for color, that's fine, but um, the longer you do this, the more you figure out that um, you might need to hold back the snake that doesn't quite look as bright and as pretty, but it's got something going on with some pattern. Or it's got some thicker black, or that's when you really start to go from what looks pretty to what will be useful to make really interesting stuff long term.
right.
You know,
Well,
yeah,
and you and I have talked about it, quite a bit, and it's kind of interesting because just because you've been doing something for 15 or 20 years doesn't mean that you're the best.
yeah,
You probably know a lot, right, which is good, but yeah, just because you've been doing something. So talk a little bit about kind of refining your process, if that's changed at all over the last like 15, 20 years, or if you've always been focused kind of on polygenics.
No, no, I was always focused on trying to make pretty stuff. Um, and then I went from making pretty stuff to outcrossing into localities with the super dwarf because I saw the importance of downsizing, and that was a long time ago. That was, you know, that was at least six, I think 16 years ago. I hashed out the first super dwarfs.
Mm.
Um, and I started working with super dwarfs a few years before that, and so I saw that, and then it was okay. Well, these colors, these colors and patterns of super dwarfs are going to be an issue. So that's when I started getting the Solayers, um, and then when I in 2010 I saw the first picture of a Ternate,
Mm.
and that's when I was like, oh, here's the solution. I remember seeing that picture. I was like, okay, that's what we need. So by 2013, I started getting them in, and everything I've been doing is honestly been an evolution of trying to make uh, nice looking stuff, and the size issue with the size issue in mind. But I'm constantly learning.
Yeah.
And if you watch my stuff, you can watch what's happening in real time because I'll be like, oh, well, like one season I'm really focused on, some color or some side banding. And then the next season I'm really focused on back pattern, back diamond shape or high back diamond count. And right now the big thing I'm focusing on, which is I don't think anybody else is, because I can't imagine anybody else is as, ADD and autistic as I am when they're looking at retic patterns, is back diamond proximity to each other. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm trying to solve a couple striping issues in morphs. So that's just kind of been the progression of what I'm doing is okay. How can I make stuff look better, and to make it look better, you have to solve the problem. So I'm constantly trying to figure out what the problem is, you
Right.
know. And and
Right.
and if, and I not that I'm here to save the world or anything, but I got to figure out how to fix Aztec. Because if I don't, if somebody doesn't figure out how to make good looking Aztecs, those things are going to be $200.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I think there's a couple different. I think there's a couple different projects that desperately need help. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And I remember this is, I don't know, this is probably 2.5 years ago. Um, I was looking deeper kind of into your stuff. And at first I was kind of like, it's cool looking, but like I'm essentially adding a ton of size,
mm-hmm.
to stuff. That was my initial kind of reaction to looking
Oh
at,
yeah,
it was like, oh, Ternates and Mindanaos and all this stuff. But then over time, as you started posting more of some of these, babies you were making, if it was the Super Maluku stuff, um, if it was your, Mindanao Tiger stuff, it just kind of became, in my opinion, undeniable that those localities make more aesthetically pleasing animals, hands
yeah,
down. Like just hands down. I mean, it's not even really close in my opinion. Like you take a Kalatoa tiger or a Ternate tiger or a Mindanao tiger, and it's like it's not in the same. They're different. I mean, everyone has their cup of tea, but like in terms of just having a overall better looking animal, those localities have a massive effect
yeah,
on projects, like
yeah.
massive effect.
And the super dwarf tigers also bring something really important to the table. They're not
Right.
necessarily bringing the color or the thickness of black, but they are bringing a tendency to have a classic pattern tiger because of the back diamond structure on a super dwarf. So there's that piece of the puzzle that okay, well if I can pull that trait and mix it with this color and pattern, now I can make a really really nice classic pattern tiger. So I mean that's super dwarfs. You can't deny that some of these medium-sized localities make stuff look better, and you certainly can't deny that super dwarfs to make stuff smaller. So you know,
Right.
there's these are these are ingredients for aesthetics. That's what these are.
Right.
You know.
And we've used the phrase before with Eric Lee and a couple other podcasts where, you know, you, I truly believe the possibilities are endless with these different localities, the different morphs, the different projects in terms of how you can make stuff look. And you know, when it comes to Eric Lee and some of the things we've talked about, because he's
Mhm.
got some pretty interesting projects, high percent projects. It's kind of like dipping back into the the paint can with
Yeah.
going back into locality stuff. So talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about like kind of the future of some of these projects.
Well, I there's basically two routes you can go on this. And, and Eric's so far along on the one route of getting to the point of really high percentages and then taking them back into some other stuff. So, then that dude, that's a lot of dedication.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of dedication, and I'm not really going too hard on the Superdorf stuff. So I'm just trying to make snakes that people can that one look really good, but also have a function of um, allowing people that's new to avoid the 10 to 15 years that Eric had to put in. So,
Right.
I'm trying to get all my ternate, Mindanao, all that stuff to 75% and above. So, you know, people no longer, and I'm not trying to be, not being a dick strictly to mainlands here, but I'm trying to make animals to give people an opportunity that want to work with super dwarfs, but also want to work with morphs to avoid having to add all that mainland blood. Because if you want to start a pick your morph super dwarf project, right? You can either go out and buy it, and it's going to have a ton of mainland blood, or you can pick up. If I'm offering that morph in 75%
Mm.
ternate, I mean, it's and I think people are going to start doing it. I think people are going to start kind of just starting their own projects, And I mean, you're going to pay a little bit. Well, you're going to pay a lot more actually for the 75% ternate, but I mean, they're not going to be ridiculous,
No, it's not going to be
you
like
know.
it's not going to be heyday super dwarf market
No,
COVID
no, it's not going to be
craziness,
20.
right?
It's not going to be $2,500 for fucking platinum, you know. Yeah, but I think that's the two paths you can. Honestly, that's the two paths you can go. You can go, and they're both right. I'm not saying there's one's wrong and there's one's right. You can go a bunch of super dwarf breedings to keep increasing the super dwarf percentage, and then you can take it back into a locality to get some color back, or you can go the route of taking a morph that's high percentage, one of these localities that's helping color and pattern, and run
Hmm.
that to a pure super dwarf. So I mean, it's either or. Like a lot, like you can go back. Um, it was probably on Retic Eugenics or somewhere. Which I wish I'd have kept that group alive. That group had a lot of good information. I just kind of let it go. Um, and I said I described Superdorf breeding. Here's how I described it. I said every time you take what X Superdorf cross morph back to a Superdorf, it's essentially shaving off another layer of color and pattern. So
Right.
the further up you go in percentage in Superdorfs, the chances are the more color and pattern it's going to get closer to the look of a pure Superdorf. That's just the way it is. Like, it's if you take let's take a look at Garrett's goat line. If you take one of those goat lines and breed it to a pure Sola, you're 75% Sola, 25 Superdorf. I mean, what's it going to look like? Is it going to look like a Solas or going to look like a Superdorf? It's just how that works. So the localities are acting as an offset for color and pattern loss, and I think that's why things like Super Malukus, Falukus, uh, the Philatoas, the Saleatoas. Those things are that kind of shit's going to be pretty popular because a
Yeah.
lot of people are starting to realize like, wow, I can have this one snake that I can add a lot of color with without adding much size. So, any of the pure dwarf localities and any of the dwarf super dwarf crosses, I think those are going to be. I think their utility is being realized now.
Yeah.
And I talked about that I think in a live recently where morphs have always been their value is based on scarcity,
Hmm.
and the more that gets produced, naturally they lose value. Where super dwarfs have an inherent value of making a more manageable snake, and a lot of the dwarfs have an inherent value of making things look better.
Right.
So that's kind of a new place if you really think about it.
It's super new. I think
Yeah,
it's super new because
yeah, because
everything used to be super segregated, in my
yeah,
opinion. You
and
know.
even Garrett didn't market uh, dwarfs and super dwarfs as inherent value. He hyped them up, but I never, Garrett really never pushed that idea. It's like, hey, they have a different type of value than a morph. They have
Mhm.
an intrinsic value of that they bring something useful to the table, where a morph is, well, get it while it's new, while the price is high, and produce enough of them that you can still sell them at a high price and make a bunch of money. And that's not really, well, as we all know, long term, that's a disaster waiting to happen for a business model. you know.
Well, he essentially, and this is a 30,000 foot overview of the situation, but from my perspective, Garrett went to your house. He
Yeah.
saw your collection. You know, he- basically he turned on you, and then he created his locality map that didn't include any of the localities that you currently have. That
and,
that
and
look
spelled
that
most of
that
them
look
wrong.
that look better.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, um, I mean, like you mentioned, everything is slowly, I think, kind of meshing together, which I think is
Yeah.
actually pretty cool. It's turning into kind of a melting pot where you do have those options,
Yeah.
and you can dip into the size can over here and shrink things down, or you can uh, make things brighter in terms of color, or you can go over here and get better back pattern or more consistent back pattern with what you currently have to keep that trait.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's really cool about it. Um, one thing I've been thinking about, and I think we talked a little bit about this on a live, or you did on a live this last week, but Coyote really hasn't been messed with yet, and I would love to be the first person to do Halma to Coyote or something like that, and make some Hayuatis or whatever you want to call them. But I think it'd be pretty cool to mess with Coyote and take it into some stuff. You know.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if people understand what Kayawate's bringing to the table. It has
Hmm.
a very specific thing it's bringing to the table, and it has a lot of pattern outlining.
Yeah.
And that's going to give you, because people are talking about their colors and saturations and albinos. Well, that's actually not, their colors aren't super poppy, but the reason you're seeing so much contrast is actually because the amount of area that has the color that, say, in an albino is orange and yellow. That's actually that's what it brings to the table. And I'm not sure if people really understand that is a very specific aspect that locality, and that is what it's bringing to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean I know there's a couple people that have done different morph projects with Coyote, but I don't think it's been maximized just because people have been focused on a lot of
No.
these other localities. So, I mean, I'd be interested. I would love to increase the black on them.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I would like to see because you were talking about the number of black scales in terms of like the pattern outline on some of
Mm-hmm.
the, I think it was Ternates or Super Malukus, I think it was, or
Yeah.
whatever. having that 3 scale wide black is
Mhm.
insane. Yeah, and with the Coyote, it's like probably 1.5, between one
Yeah.
and two in some areas. But yeah, the outlining is really really solid, and I think can be used for a lot of stuff. And I think that's why Garrett's Sunfire Coyote stuff looked so good too, because it just had a lot of contrast.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, and that,
I
that's
don't know
kind
what
of
happened to those.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of one of the mistakes in that Garrett made. He was like, "Oh, look what it does to Kawadi." It's like, no, that's what that's what a very specific section of a very specific section of the pattern is doing.
right.
So and when you start, and that's a good way to start looking at stuff, is like, all right, well, start looking at parts of a snake that, and see how that's affecting stuff, because that's how I look at stuff, because I have just back pattern. I have it broke down into black, the thickness of black, uh, the amount of diamonds, the diamond shape, the diamond proximity to each other, the diamond proximity to the rosette, and there's one other thing that I look at, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. And whether or not it's lined up, whether or not it's the diamonds are lined up, or if they're offset. I mean, I just like, there's 7 different things I look at when I look at back pattern alone. So yeah, the more you start to pick apart an animal, um, for all its pieces, the better you're going to understand how it's going to affect another locality or a morph. So, you know,
Well, it's kind of interesting, and I don't know. Because I definitely believe that there's a lot of breeders that don't have that philosophy. They don't look at their breedings that way, right? When you're talking about polygenic traits, or I'm breeding for this particular pattern, or
yeah,
these colors and stuff like that, I don't think there's a lot of breeders out there that try to break that down to where it's like, I want to look for and breed for these specific traits. I think that happens with a lot of other breeders and with other animals.
yeah,
If it's dogs or cats or whatever, it's like they're a lot of those breeders are really into kind of the science behind what makes a really good looking animal. you know
yeah,
and what traits am I specifically looking for. So I mean, I think that's one thing that's typically overlooked for whatever reason in our space, and I think it's just because there's so many different morphs, so many different options that
yeah.
people want to kind of throw together. But that doesn't necessarily going to make the best looking stuff, and I think we've kind of covered and seen that before. But
Yeah,
why do you think that is though?
well, and like when you look at like AKC dogs and stuff, they have a standard.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we don't have a standard, and two, we can't. To be honest, we can't have a standard, because to say this is how it should look, say wild type. This is the wild type you want. Well, there's no one wild type that's going to be able to apply to every single morph to improve every morph. And not to shit on Aztec, but if we go back to Aztec, Aztec is a perfect example of how different back pattern traits are going to create an amazing Aztec, or we're going to make a lackluster Aztec. So I think there's so many factors that come into play that are affecting the outcome of a morph versus a morph combo. Um, like when you throw, like how Tiger kind of adjusts where the black's at
Mhm.
on snakes, and then how you put that with Sunfire, and that's going to come in and reduce a lot of that black, and then you throw it on top of an Anthrax, and now you're just like, all the black's gone, and that sucks, because thick black on or on an Anthrax Sun Tiger would be awesome,
Yeah.
you know, and then we're kind of working against it. And I think what we're seeing is I don't even know. I don't know if this is the right terminology. I'm just constantly trying to figure stuff out on genetics, but I think we're seeing honestly a large group of genes and that are a large group of genes that are being affected by a single morph, and some of them get overrode for
Hmm.
like the example that the triple visual I just gave an example of, where the sunfire is creating an epistasis effect that's dominating. You know, saying okay, the tiger says, well, the tiger usually has pretty thick black and it pulls it down on the side a little bit more, but that gets overrode by the sunfire gene that says, hey, once you get down to that last third, we ain't having any black
Right.
down on the side of the tail.
Yeah.
So like the gene for that black is probably still there, but it gets overrode
Overridden.
by
Yeah.
the sunfire gene that says no, we don't allow black here.
Right.
It's like we don't allow that. We do not allow that section of pattern structure in this section of the snake. So there's. I mean, that's why we don't. The shit's so complicated, and a lot of we all try to pretend like we understand it, and the truth is we don't understand any of
Yeah.
it.
Well,
So
and it just goes to show too. I mean, I know kind of the fun thing about some of the lines you're working with, if it's the Apocalypto line, the Fractalist Ternate stuff, all
yeah,
that stuff, like the fun thing about that is when you throw morphs into that stuff, it's like spinning the wheel. Like you really
yeah,
don't know what it's going to throw, and you're just going to be able to create some really unique looking animals. And I
yeah,
think that's the allure of it for me, and like looking at some of the stuff that you've produced is like it just doesn't look like your typical stuff that you see,
yeah,
out there.
and and,
Um,
and that
but
that's really why I'm trying to create those Swiss Army knife normals.
right.
You know that you
That
know
just look crazy. I
yeah
mean, you
it,
throw them to anything and it's going to make
yeah.
crazy looking stuff.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing is if I can get a decent amount of side banding, decent amount of thick black, decent high back diamond count, decent aberrant back pattern, decent sharpness to the back diamond, and overall decent color, then I can now I can market them correctly as saying this is literally going to make anything look better.
Right. Right.
It's like, hey, we got a couple people saying a couple things. I
Yeah,
sorry, we don't
I
mean to be
just wanted
ignoring you. We're just
yeah,
really
I wanted to just wrap up this segment. So this is, I mean, we essentially just wanted to take part two of our breeding retics 101. I think this was really good, Rodney. So
yeah.
thanks again, and we'll be getting ready for part three in the next few weeks. But let's go through the chats here. So we've got Derek talking about how the weather is crazy out in Tennessee. Yeah, I agree. It's been a really wonky season. Um, he also said that Halma is a personal favorite. I agree. I think it's definitely up there for me. He's wanting to take that to an OGS. What do you think that will do to an OGS, Rodney?
Make it super dark. It's make it real dark.
Yeah, yeah. Um, we've got who else here? Old Fime Roll 2974 saying, "I love Faluku. The bigger he gets, the brighter he shines."
Yeah, post some pictures of him.
Yeah.
Yes, post some pictures somewhere of him. Let people see that.
Um, I agree. The Faluku stuff's awesome. Kaiwadi Ocelot looks amazing. They did Kaiwadi Ocelot overseas. Am I correct there
Yep.
on Rodney? Yeah,
Yeah, they hatched those out back in like 2013. The double hets.
the double head stuff. Yeah. Um, Duran is saying for you guys, what are the minimum max average sizes for all dwarf super dwarf localities, including everything Rodney works with? What do you think, Rodney? I'll leave that one up to you.
Well, I'd say the general sizes on super dwarfs are 6 to 9, with definitely a little bit of a upward range of 10 to 11. I mean, but that's really, I mean, is there? I think there's one Kalatoa that might be close to 11. I've never seen anything outside of that. As for the dwarfs, man, like the dwarfs really aren't that small. I mean, we can call them dwarfs, but I mean that's by comparison to a 20-foot mainland. So, um, I mean, I really think dwarfs are staying in that 8 to 12 for the most part, with the high end towards about 14. Um, I mean, the largest I have a ternate that I've fed the shit out of. I fed the shit out of all of my ternates, but only two got one got 13 and one's a little over, and that's the largest ternate I've ever seen. And there was two big ternates found on ternate that were roughly that same size, but they were living next to a farm in a village, so it had it had access to chickens and pigs and goats and stuff. And without that, that snake would have never been able to get that size. But I mean, that's that size range too. Of some people get 7 foot, some people get 5 foot. So you have to really take all that into consideration. And a lot of those outliers, you're always going to have the outlier that's really small or really big. But yeah, because Kevin mentioned the 16 to 18 foot jams. The 18 foot jam story might be a little exaggerated, because I've seen pictures of a quote unquote 18 foot jam that I would say was not 18 feet. You know?
Right. Right. I mean, I would say for pures, like the pure SD stuff, I mean, to be safe, I mean, you're probably like 8 to 9 feet on average, I
Yeah.
would say. Like, um,
Yeah.
now,
10 foot's an outlier. 10 foot really is an outlier.
yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
tried to make them 10 feet when I had them, and I couldn't get them
if
anywhere
it's
near
like
it.
if it's a pure like Karampa, Madhu, Kalatoa, and they're legitimate, I mean, I'm having a hard time. I don't even know what she is. She's a pure from Daniel Solis, but she's 7 feet and doesn't want to grow. So it's
Yeah.
like, um, but then you have the Kaiwadi and the dwarf stuff, and I'm not as familiar with that stuff. But no, that I mean, and then you get into crosses, and that's where things get a little bit wonky, and I think that's where people get pissed off is because they're promised X and they're getting a larger animal too.
Yeah.
You know, like a 50% Kalatoa. That was just bred to a mainland
Yeah.
on that side.
Yeah, and something like Mindanao that's kind of gotten thrown into the dwarf category over the years. Not by me. It's just gotten thrown into like when people ask me, I'm like, oh, they seem to be dwarf size. Um, there's my largest one I think is 13 feet. Um, because when I was getting those snakes back from Lucas, Lucas is like, hey, this female, uh, that I'm sending you back, this Mindanao, she's like 14 feet. I'm like, really? So I get her back. She's like 12.
Well, and they're
Yeah,
leaner. They're way leaner.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
I was like, she's no, she's not 14 feet. She's long and lanky, but
right.
she's not. Yeah, she's around 12, maybe 12 and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. My
So,
Kaiwadi is
and she's,
probably.
and she's half the weight. I mean, dude, if it was like a 12-foot Solaire
Oh
versus,
gosh. Yeah.
I mean, dude, those things are gonna be heavy.
It'll hurt your back.
Yeah, so and I mean, I'm to the point I don't really care about. I don't care about size as long as it's not getting 16 plus. As long and I've said this for a long time. Just try to make manageable stuff. Try to get enough super dwarf and dwarf blood in there that it fits in a 6 foot cage.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because the 6 foot cage is what most people have room for.
How old is your largest Mindanao?
My largest Mindanao is an F1 who is I think 8 years old, and she's probably 13. Yeah, next time she's actually gravid. After she lays her clutch and sheds, I'll try to get her stretched out to get a real accurate um, measurement on her. Because to look at her, like if you were to look in the cage at her, she looks about 9.5 feet. To be like maybe 10 feet. Honestly, like when you look down at a Mindanao, until you stretch them out, they're like looking at a scrub python. You look at a scrub python, they're so skinny. You're like, oh, that's 4 feet. You stretch it out at 7. You
Right.
know, but no, they're really thin. So I'll try to get an accurate measurement on her because she's friendly enough. She'll let me measure her. So I just have to wait until she's not full of eggs.
Well, Chris Shar is. I know he's working pretty heavily with Jamp stuff, and so he
Yeah,
just said be able to get better sizes of Jamps in 5 to 10 years.
yeah,
Um, yeah, if there's anybody out there telling you that their retics are going to stay 6 feet, run away. I mean,
yeah,
doesn't matter what it is. Like, um, if you get lucky, if you get lucky with some crazy genetics, you might have one that is in that ballpark. But I mean, 95% of the time, you're not going to have animals stay that small.
no,
So, I mean, unless you're starving them. So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah, and and dude, and that's the thing. If you want a snake that small, get a different species.
yeah, because the growth potential, that's the thing that people don't realize. It's like the growth potential of these snakes. I mean, and a lot of people still don't know. I mean, a lot of the stuff that was sold as super dwarf stuff in the last 5 to 7 years, I mean, we still won't know for a
Yeah,
while. So it's like,
yeah, yeah. The big thing is if somebody's telling you a super dwarf cross is going to stay as small as a pure, that's that like
that's
that that's the big red flag. That's the big red flag because um, what's the genetic mechanism for that small size? You know what I mean? So what's the genetic mechanism that's shutting off all size from the mainland blood? It's not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that's the dude, and I'm still seeing so much of that. So, it's like there's so many labels getting put on Superdorf crosses. The morph crosses. Oh, it's gonna be, maybe 9 feet. So and I don't get that.
well, I had a guy reach out to me. This is like a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, like, what are you breeding this year?" And I tell him what I'm shooting for. I was like, I can't guarantee if what I'm gonna have yet, but um, he's like he wants a really yellow snake, so he wants like some platinum or albino or something, and and then he also wanted it to stay like I don't know 7 feet or something. And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like I'm not gonna have it. Like there's no way. You're probably not gonna find
No, no,
something
he's
like.
gonna find somebody that tells him what he wants to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I just was like, I mean, I was just straight up with him. I was like, hey man, like, I think I'll have some pretty stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna sell you on the size because I'm not gonna be getting a bad review in 4 years, you
Yeah.
know. So sorry, dude.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
worth it.
have you noticed different localities exhibiting different behavioral traits, such as being more arboreal, more terrestrial, more fond of water than other localities? That's a good question. Um, what have you seen? I mean, I have Coyotes, I've got a Kawatoa, I've only got a couple look super dwarf stuff, but
Not a lot. I mean, outside of Superdorfs being more flighty, Halmas being more aggressive, you pretty much any retic, you give them something to climb on or something to swim in, they're gonna use it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, with my naturalistic enclosures, I mean, almost all of them have used some form of the perch to hang
Yeah,
out in. So I
yeah.
recommend something like that. Um, my Halma and Rejam cross I want to do won't stay under 10 feet. Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah,
But I am interested to see how those look. I
yeah,
I, I really am. Those are
yeah. I
sick.
I think Halma's gonna solve a problem for Anery. I think Halma's gonna. I think that's when we're gonna find out what's what lines are Anery and what lines are just Anery
Silver
looking.
phase. Silver
Yeah,
phase. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's going to be a determining factor, I believe.
Well, I think there's going to be some come to Jesus meetings in the next few years in regards to Anery stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Because I mean, if I know,
okay, I'll
there,
pull these up. He's going to
I
DM me some pictures on Facebook.
yeah,
Of,
and I know there's people claiming different lines of Anery now, and some aren't compatible, and it's like, okay, Alrighty. Well,
Oh yeah, that's nice. Herp House just sent these over. So does Herp House. Here, let me see if I can.
with all the Karampas coming out next season, someone should do a Halma to Karampa cross.
I don't know if I'll be able to get this. I don't think I'll be able to do this.
It's
My webcam is terrible. So
well, it's your web with the auto exposure on it. It's gonna have a very tough time.
here, I'll send it to you. Maybe you can
All right.
pull this up. This is a cool looking snake though. This is the Coyote Ocelot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's unique. It's really unique looking, actually. The head stamp on that one is crazy.
Is that a Coyote Ocelot, or is that a Coyote?
These are 50% Coyote visual ocelots.
You
Yep.
sure that's not a Motley? Also, that really looks like it's also a Motley. That has to be a Motley Ocelot as well. If it's not, dude. Do you see how much black's on that thing's face?
That's what I love. You gotta turn up your brightness a little bit.
All right, yeah, I got that turned down. That's my fucking flashlight.
I just think the high contrast stuff always pops way more.
Let me see.
Scoot it over a little bit. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Is it focused?
Yeah, scoot it over. You can't see the head. There we go. Right there. Yeah, that's money.
Yeah,
Look at
that's
that.
a ton of black on that. Yeah, that's a ton of black. Could you imagine if that snake had a yellow head?
Yeah, it would be nutty.
You know what I mean? If that had a bright ass yellow head with all that black on it, that would be crazy.
How do you make? I was going to ask you this, Rodney, because how do you make a true all black retic?
I don't think you
Now-
can.
You don't think it's possible?
Well, the problem is with that is like even the really dark snakes like the Motley GCs, they're not actually black because when you look at a GC, the basically what's left on a GC in terms of pattern is like it's just basically all pattern outlining. And then it's a
Right.
limited color spectrum to basically some greens, browns, reds. So, and because black doesn't seem to be in the color spectrum on that section of um, the pattern, because black seems to be a part of structure more than color spectrum, if that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't. The only time you really see black in that area is black ticking. So unless you could get an insane amount of black ticking in the pattern outlining and then somehow just fill it in, I honestly don't know how.
Yeah, because I mean it's because the head is always the issue because the head goes brown usually too.
Yeah,
'Cause-
but even like to give you an example, that's why in a Motley GC albino isn't an all purple snake because the color the part of the pattern that gets left with GC is actually the part of the pattern that doesn't have the black. So the that's why they're not all purple or all whatever. Is because the part that's left is not the part that has the black. So that's why
I
you
see
can't
what you're
actually.
saying.
Yeah, so that's why you can't actually do it. So unless you can get like Minden Owls have a ton of black ticking. So unless you could kind of get some extreme black ticking gene that puts black into an area that normally does not have it, that's the only way I could think you could do that. Or if you had a gene that basically shut down like all the other parts of the pattern and all that's left was the pattern structure itself, and the pattern structure would have to fill in and create an all black snake.
Yeah, because I mean, the one thing I've been looking at is those the black knight melanistic leopard geckos, and
Yeah.
and that's different because they get darker kind of as they grow and get older.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when they hatch out, they're not like jet black, you
No.
know, and so that pigment just gets bigger and bigger and bigger kind of as they grow, and yeah, I mean, and they have to breed specifically for some of those traits, like the darkest to the darkest to the darkest,
Yeah, to
over
keep
and
them.
over.
Yeah. So yeah,
So
the closest we have right now to making a black retic would be a really dark Halma with Motley and GC.
yeah,
You know, because my big wild caught female, she looks black. I mean, that snake is so retardedly dark that it just looks black.
yeah, yeah. Um, Kevin says with all the Karampas coming out next season, someone should do a Halma to Karampa cross. How do you think those would look?
Oh, they probably look interesting.
Yeah,
How was more for how was more for thickening up black and the side pattern structure. Yeah, if you want crazy back pattern, you can use turn 8. If you want to go pretty decently sharp back diamonds and get some
yeah,
spacing, you can go with Mindanao. So, it's depends what you want to do there. Like, see, I think like Halma to some of the more Meduse would be good, and then for Karampa, we already know, uh, turn 8 goes good with Kalatoa. Mindanao might be a good option for Karampa or turn 8.
mm,
But yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Halma's gonna play a much bigger role in thickening up black and creating an opportunity for better color saturation in albinos. Like I already know, we're making super dark shit with like a GC Motley. Like I already know where people are gonna have good results with. Like and like Halma for um whatchamacallit, Halma for anthrax.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, for
You know,
sure.
that's
Well,
gonna
and
be
we've just listed out how many how many potential projects that
yeah. Yeah. It's
and
not like there's a shortage of them.
no, no. Um, I think the possibilities are endless. I would love to do the Hama to Kaiwadi just to call them Hayuwadis.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
um all right. Imagine mocha version of that or caramel version of that 50% Kaiwadi ocelot. Yeah, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah. It
Um,
probably yeah. Either or would be nice.
Chris is asking questions about equipment. Do you use HDMI cables for your camera for live streams?
Yeah, I have an HDMI running off of both, and then um I have what's called an Elgato 4K capture thingy that plugs into the one camera because I'm going to try to get a 4K stream out of my one camera to show off snakes. So I was actually working on all the settings in OBS and in YouTube to be able to stream 4K off the stream for the camera that shows the snakes. So yeah, because I can't do 4K out of Riverside. I'm like, why am I? It kind of pisses me off actually because we're in Riverside right now, and it's like, why can't I stream? It's
I
expensive
like
enough. I should
Riverside.
be able to. I like Riverside, dude. Those
Yep.
magic clips they kick out. Like, they also have an AI. Like, if this is being recorded while we're live streaming, and it'll take all the pauses out, all the ums out. It'll save you a ton of time on editing, and it spits out all your magic. They call them magic clips. All the
Short
vertical
form.
clips. Yeah,
Yeah, all the short form content. Yeah, it's
yeah. It
pretty
makes
dope.
literally makes it for you. So
Um, Let me see what else. We've got Carl Stevenson. How long on average from the pre-lay does it take to lay in your experience for both extremes? The scale.
um, I've had them go under 30 days and upwards of 60. So a month to two,
That's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
a month or two.
A month or two around around there.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I don't keep track of anything, dude. Like if you stop keeping track of stuff, then you don't worry.
well, and that's the thing. It's like I once again, I think it's so easy to overthink or overanalyze,
Yeah.
you know, and then it just drives you crazy. Like, you know, it's
Yeah,
driven me.
you'll know when your female's gonna lay because the front half of her gets all skinny and shrunk in, and usually within a week after that she drops eggs.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think there's. I mean, I think there's a lot of. I mean, you put out a video for what was it? It was a top 10 or top 20 projects.
I forget.
I forget what it was. Maybe it was top 15, but I highly recommend if you guys are looking to pivot or change plans or whatever, go watch that video on Rodney's channel.
Yeah,
Um,
well, I've done top tens for just a single moor for a single locality too. So if you
right.
go and look, there's like 100 different ideas.
Well, and that's the funny thing when people are like, "Oh, you know, it's competition or you know this that or whatever other breeders." It's like, dude, you're your own competition. Can you
Yeah.
actually like focus and you know see these projects through? That's the biggest battle I think for most breeders is just surviving and seeing these projects through.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so.
Yeah, and you can also just make stuff better. Like,
Mhm.
any a selective breeding is its own project. So if you want to change the color of a genetic stripe, you can do it with any Saputria. You can do it with Halma. You know, you can totally change the color. So you can start that project. You can if you get into a Superdorf Halma genetic stripe project, are they going to sell for millions of dollars? No, but if you produce a bunch of if you produce really nice stuff, it will sell as long as it's not overpriced. You know, you can't come out and charge $5,000 for a different looking G stripe, but you can charge 1,000 or 15 or two. You know, so yeah, just yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think we're going to see a lot more of just really really fine tuning shit.
Yeah. And make sure to leave out of your business plan the idea of going public with mass producing retics and
Yeah.
undercutting everybody. I think that's a good idea too.
Yeah, and
So,
if you do it, make sure you explain how good of a good you're a good person. Just reiterate that you're a professional and a good person, and then it'll be fine.
um,
What do you guys think would be a great pairing morph and locality mixes for Bali Blacktail? I have no idea. I think I have what appears to be a Bali Blacktail gene in my collection that I'm raising up, and all I'm trying to do is figuring out how to make it better and not ruin it. Because if I make something bad with it, the internet will eat me the fuck alive because of how much I've written my mouth over the years. If I so I'm really thinking about that on how to make that nice because if I make something bad, if I have a new gene and I make something bad with it, I will. It'll be a while before I live that one down.
yeah.
So
Um,
I think possibly Anthrax if it doesn't ruin it, because Anthrax does have the ability to ruin stuff. Um, if I can get an aberrant enough pattern on it and add a marble to it and break it up, that could be something. Or even if I can get enough, if there's enough sod pattern left on a pecan, that could do it. And I think Ocelot Blacktail, I think that could be crazy.
yeah. Yeah.
And, or
Um,
or Aztec, but Aztec might just stripe. There's an issue that Aztec might just stripe.
right. Right. Shout out to Iman over in Indonesia, man. He's crushing it. His
Yeah,
I think we've shot. We talked a little bit about him. He's in the group. He's in the next gen
yeah,
group. but that guy is making some pretty. His account is Iman Jaya. I'm probably butchering that last name because I don't speak that language, but um, you guys should all go check out his stuff on.
Yeah, he's the one that just hatched out that crazy snake, right? That it's like a 545 gene.
Oh,
It
sent the wrong handle.
yeah, it's what the hell is it? It's a Harlequin, orange glow,
Yeah, it's
like
insane.
four other things. And I mean, it's literally one of the craziest. I didn't think somebody was going to beat that symbiote,
Yeah.
and then like first week of January of the year they come out with, and it's like Jesus Christ, people, come on, give us a chance over here.
No, he's nutty. I mean,
Yes.
it's pretty insane some of the stuff he's producing, and it's like, how do we get Bob to connect with Iman,
Yeah,
please?
we need to find some of that. But no, I mean the Bali blacktail is um is a big gene. And I tried to get those in, tried to get those in, and I couldn't get them in right before we lost importation, because there was like some subadults found, and I could have rolled right into with a basically a breeder. Um, but luckily I had some goofy stuff pop up in my collection, so
You
hopefully that
got it.
yeah, hopefully we got it. If we got it, the only thing I got to do is I got to add a little bit more black to the side, and I just got to figure out how not to ruin it. Like I can tell you what I'm not doing with it, and that's breeding it to, I'm not breeding it to a golden child. you know, I'm not.
That's the go-to. That's a go-to move.
Yeah. It seems
Fifty
like
percent of the time,
yeah,
just
it's
throw
yeah,
golden child in.
and I'm not even sure if I want to breed it to a tiger, to be honest, because of the nature of that gene and striping. I mean,
I would.
it might just, I don't
You
know.
got you. I mean, you've got plenty of stuff to make some just insane tigers already. I think
Yeah.
you would try to
Yeah, so
isolate
I kind of want to see what it does with I want to see how marble affects it, because I don't mind I'm not going to mind if it thins out the black, but it kind of like spreads it out. It'll create like a puzzle pattern,
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
honest,
like a
is what it's going to
puzzly
do.
webby pattern on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't want to they used Harlequin for some stuff over there, and I got Jag, but I don't want to fight the system on Jag, so I probably won't run it into Jag.
I mean, Jag's cool, but it's an uphill battle, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like I think I remember Shane talking about Jag or whatever, like how many Jags he had to go through to find like a decently healthy one. It was like 13 or something. I don't
Yeah.
remember. Once again, I don't want to misspeak on Shane, but I'm just saying, like, the whole wobble thing is just it could be pretty bad.
Yeah, and I have a Jag that has no wobble, and she'll be ready to breed next year.
Yeah.
So, but I've had other Jags that had no wobble, and they still threw wobbly Jags. So,
Right.
you
Right.
know, dude, I've tried outcrossing them. I've taken outcrossed stuff from Andrew and outcrossed it even more. I mean, I made 75. I made a 75 turn 8 Jag last year, and the thing had a wobble. I was like, "Are you serious? Like, I can't fix this." Like, and it's just there's just hit and miss.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I'll throw in the towel at a certain point, because, um, I don't know. I personally don't want wobbly snakes. So why would I expect people to buy wobbly snakes from me?
Yeah. No, I mean, I personally would never buy a wobbly snake either. I
No,
mean, it's just no.
no. So I mean, since I won't buy them, I'm not going to expect other people to buy them. You know,
Yeah.
which
Or try to
sucks.
sell them like they're not wobbly and they
Yeah,
are.
which
Like
sucks,
that's
because
happened.
Jag has some pretty unique abilities. Not so much with Ocelot though. Yeah, not so much with Ocelot. The gene I'm trying to make is that Curious gene, because I
Yeah.
already know it's going to function similar to a Jag, but it doesn't have any of the issues. So I'm trying to make that gene. Whether that's kind of a high bar to set, but I'm still gonna
Well,
try.
I think Iman is working with that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that Curious gene, the Curious gene with Bali Blacktail, um, yeah, I was a little bit surprised how it what they got, because it ended all striping, um, but it did what I thought it would do, which was dominate the pattern structure like Jag and Harlequin does. So so Curious with Marble will be nice. It's going to function a lot like a Jag,
Right.
but not in a. It doesn't seem to roll around like an idiot, and have be all wobbly. So that's actually why I'm really trying to make that. And the Curious gene is very. I mean, everyone I've seen has connecting black from the back diamond the whole way to the belly, whereas not all Jags have that. They have a tendency towards that, but some of them stripe out and they lose some of it.
Right.
So yeah, so yeah, there's a whole bunch of there's tons of stuff to play with, tons of stuff. It's wide open, you know. Just Morph Market looks like it's saturated and it's going nowhere. That's Morph Market's not an accurate representation of possibilities. It's more of an accurate representation of stuff we need to stop doing.
Well, yeah, and there's been a lot of stuff on there that's been sitting on there for a long time.
Yeah, and it's gonna stay on there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and and we've talked about it at length before, and no need to go down the rabbit hole again. But it's like if you're going to breed snakes and try to sell snakes, you need to create a brand for yourself and a name for yourself because
Yeah.
there's super dwarfs on there, and it's like no offense, but I have no idea half those people are. You know what I mean? It's like even if you claim that it's pure this or pure that, it's like I've never even heard your name before.
Yeah.
And then you look them up, and it's like there's no presence anywhere online. It's like I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy a snake from somebody like that. So just something to think about as you're getting things moving and prepping for breeding season or in breeding season right now.
Yeah,
So
well, it doesn't matter if it's a mainland. When you get into localities, you're dealing with bloodlines.
right,
So and there's a credibility that needs to come with your production, and unfortunately, part of credibility now is an online presence.
yeah,
So
yeah. You can't hide in the middle of nowhere anymore and
no, it's
sling
not
snakes.
it's not mid 90s. It's not the mid 90s.
It's definitely not the mid 90s anymore, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, operating out of newspaper clippings.
yeah,
No, I thought this was really good. And once again, I mean, I wish and hope the best for everybody that's breeding this season. And you know, I think what we're going to try to do is we've got some podcasts we're trying to work on. I know we've got who do we have in terms of lineup? We've
oh
got
shit, I gotta make myself a note. We're doing Jordan tonight.
that's right. So we've
Fuck,
got
I
Jordan
completely
Carpenter
forgot about
coming
that.
on tonight. So I think that'll be awesome. And then Ryan Conkey's expressed he needs to come on. We just haven't our schedules haven't lined up with him.
Yeah, plus he's in
Uh,
Peru right now.
oh, that's right. He's with Eric and
Yeah,
Andrew.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
down there.
Oh man, that sounds like a fun trip. Um, and then who else? We had a couple. Dude, you were talking to that geneticist or something,
I'm
or
trying to
somebody.
get a hold of her. She's
Yeah,
yeah. I was like, yes, I need to send her a bunch of sheds, and it's like, come on and talk about your work, so I can ask you a bunch of questions,
yeah,
you know, so I can figure out how all this stuff works.
yeah. So we've got that. We technically never did our year in review, even though you did your 2026 preview. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I still want to do that, but the more I thought about it, I was like, man, we're gonna get a bunch of hate for for that.
for Pickett for well, it's interesting because there was a lot of people. There was probably I don't know, it was probably 10 or 15 people that put in their 2 cents on that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I still want to do that. We just got to
if
figure out how
if
to.
we I mean if we start off with sharing what other people are kind of saying, then I
Yeah.
mean, everyone has a personal preference and opinions on stuff, so I
Yeah.
don't think we'll get too much hate for it. It just boils down to personal preference in terms of, you know, who you like, what you like, whatever
Yeah.
on some of the stuff people are doing. So, um, no, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we're working on. Those are some of the main. Those are some of the main pieces of the content we're working on. Um, yeah, yeah. It's kind of a weird time right now. I mean, it's kind
Yeah.
of a weird time in retics. Obviously, the world is it's things are going crazy and speeding up, and you got AI and technology and all kinds of crazy things affecting the workforce and people's careers. I mean, it's gonna get. I think it's just gonna get nuttier and nuttier. But
I think we're going to see a shift in reptiles. I think the people that kind of over leveraged based on their internet popularity and took on massive overhead.
yeah,
Don't need to say any names. I'm sure you guys figure out who I'm talking shit on right now. But I think we're going to see them kind of anybody that's got real high overheads. Their production. If you have really high overhead and your production this year isn't like really impressive, and I don't mean by not necessarily by numbers. I mean by impressive animals and enough of them at an affordable price. I think people are going to have a rough year. You
yeah,
know, I think we could. I honestly I think we're going to see the collapse of most of the reptile shipping companies this year.
yeah. I mean, I think it's coming. I mean,
Yeah.
we know quite a few. We've connected with quite a few people in the space on the business side, not just retic stuff, but um, trying to bring companies and businesses some different solutions. But it's
Yeah, and I mean, not to cut you off, but how the reptile industry is run is so antiquated in its
yeah,
methodology.
yeah,
And we're heading into this new era of weird AI, of efficiency, of much higher competition on pricing in
hmm
something like shipping. um I just think I think we're heading into something different. And I think the reptile industry is either going to have to become put on its big boy pants and start functioning like a real industry, or and I think it will. I just think you're going to see the drop off of the people that's just like, no, no, I got a notebook and I write stuff down in it, and we don't need an efficient dashboard for for tracking sales and shipment. I just think I think that all is going to fall by the wayside. I think they're going to get left behind by essentially efficiency.
Well, and I think we've already seen it just on
Yeah.
kind of a very basic level with Darian. I mean, Darian has
Yeah.
come in and just, I mean, mopped the floor on the business side.
Oh yeah.
He's come in, and to his credit, it's not like he's reinvented the wheel or something.
No, he
It's
didn't.
just,
I don't even like Darian, and I always give him credit because it's like, this is what happens when somebody tries to be efficient in reptiles.
yeah,
They crush the shit out of everybody because they're doing stuff in a relatively efficient way. I mean, you don't have to have zero entropy in your system. You just have to have enough of a structure that it runs smoothly, and that's usually enough to do better than 99% of the people in reptiles.
yeah. It's just a lack of. I mean, I don't want to call it a common sense, but just business sense.
Yeah.
Of we've talked to I don't know, we've talked to a lot of different business owners in the reptile pet space,
Dude, I
and
probably talked to 100.
yeah,
And
it's,
how many of them have let us help them?
I mean,
We're
two,
on one hand.
yeah,
We
yeah,
can count them on one hand.
yeah. It's crazy. I mean, and these are kind of I mean, these are no-brainer solutions.
Yeah.
They're so stuck in their ways they don't want to change,
Yeah.
right? So if it's on business savings, if it's on payroll tax roll, if it's on shipping or merchant processing. It's like, when you tell a business owner you can save them, conservatively $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and they don't take it, it's wild. It's
Yeah.
wild. You
Yeah,
know.
that's why I think that like the 20 to 45 age range,
Mhm.
in reptiles, I think they're gonna do just fine. I think that 55 plus, I think they're gonna take a hit. Like you
Yeah.
look at Mickey, uh, from Show Us Snakes or whatever. Like he's a go getter. He's setting up
Right.
shows. He's setting up all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
And he's in that semi younger age range. So like you see people like that are just really really going hard. And just he's adapting. I
Hmm.
think what is it? I think it's Repticon. You can just
The
buy
big
your
one. Yeah.
yeah, you can just buy your tickets to the show right online. So you're not standing in line like an asshole for 2 hours waiting to pay. It's just like little things like that's just simplify. Dude, convenience always wins in a market. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
always, dude. You want to know what if 10 products come out that roughly do the same thing, whichever ones is the easiest to use is the one that prevails.
Yeah. Well, easiest to use, and from our experience, I mean, even just websites
Yeah,
that from 30 years ago that they're still going off of and using. It's like, this is a mess,
yeah,
and good thing you have returning customers that know how to use this thing, because anybody new that comes on here doesn't know where to go.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And that's what's taken King Snake so long because they're trying to set their stuff up for
mhm.
you know current times, and it's gonna. I actually got to send them some PDF files today on some retic stuff. Um, so yeah, but I honestly think King Snake is going to be a serious competitor for Morph Market.
Yeah, they're making a lot of changes behind the scenes right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really cool, and I think there's Facebook groups, people are on Instagram, whatever, but with the amount of information and history that platform has,
Hmm.
it'll be it'll be cool to see them revamp that and bring it to life again.
Yeah, especially if they get their forums up and running.
Right.
Because I mean, there honestly is kind of a social media fatigue. I know there is because I have it. Just getting inundated with you know dopamine hits slash negativity simultaneously at a rapid fire. You know, so I do think that they have a huge potential to bring communities back onto Kingsnake for a social media type area, but without all the clickbait, without all the short form content, without all the TikTok dances. I do think they have a huge potential.
Yeah. Yeah. And um yeah, well, it'll be really interesting too to just kind of see how they adapt and kind of integrate, because obviously everybody's on already on social media, YouTube. I don't know. I don't think there's any other real forums though. There any? Are reptile people on like Reddit and stuff? I mean, that's the only other place I can really think that would be like
There's some.
employable.
I have a Reddit. I don't really use it because Reddit's. I don't know. Reddit's weird.
Right.
And I feel like you need to take a class to even understand Reddit. But I was in a couple retic things on there, but it's real. It's Reddit forums seem more like for people that bought their animals from a pet store. I'm not shitting on them. I'm just saying that's kind of the vibe.
Basic, yeah, super basic questions and
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. Yeah, you're not going to find too many selective breeding for you know sod pattern subreddit discussions on there. You're just not. As far as I know, at least for retics, it might be for. I'm sure there's tons of stuff on there for ball pythons or something like that, but Yeah, I don't think the retics have really branched into Reddit too much.
Well, and I think I don't want to I don't want to let any cats out of the bag, but I think we did talk about this on the podcast with King Snake
Yeah.
that they're gonna have kind of like a wholesaling section
Oh
at the
yeah,
end of
no, he brought
breeders.
that up.
See that's what's killer in my opinion to all of this is like I lost my camera. Can you hear
All
me?
right. Yeah, I can hear you.
Um, this happened on my live the other day too. It drives me absolutely crazy.
Did your
Um,
camera die?
I don't know. I touch my computer and then it craps out on me. But no, so I mean, what I was going to say about the wholesaling thing. I mean, what are your thoughts on that in the retail community? I mean, do you know a lot of people have done that in the past? Like, do people, will people sell to pet stores?
Yeah,
Their extra stuff. Like, what have you seen on the
yeah,
wholesale?
they do that, and I actually, if I'm making some morphs or something, and there's some other stuff in there that's lower end, that's more in that pet range. A lot of times I actually will trade those to people for feeders. If it's one of my buddy who's also sells feeders and he needs some lower end retics, I'll trade for feeders. I'll give him 20 snakes and get a bunch of feeders. That way I don't have to spend money on feeders, and he can have some animals to put on his table. So, yeah, there's a lot of people wholesaling. I mean, and looking, I mean, you're even seeing that a lot with, Garrett's been selling through CNB for, man, that's been going on for years.
Right,
Um,
right.
and he's been selling, and I think a lot of the mainland people, I don't, are sending stuff to Bob. I think like Gavin and a lot of them are sending stuff to Bob. So, I'm not 100% on that, but I've actually was told that a lot of them actually, because Bob has such a large global market that, you know,
Well,
you know,
what's the spread on that split?
well, do you ever notice how these people, a lot of them all get whatever Bob's producing, whatever new stuff Bob's got producing? I mean, you really think they're paying those prices, or you think they're handing Bob a bunch of babies that he can easily get his 10,000, $20,000 out of a bunch of babies versus trying to get it out of one snake. So
Yeah, yeah.
that I think.
Rob Fuentes says there's a small reptile community on Reddit. Retics are not too popular on the bigger subreddits. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and Reddit is a strange dude. There's like anything you can think of is on Reddit. Like if I have some really random question about something, I usually can find an answer on Reddit, but that there doesn't seem to be much retic stuff on Reddit, and I have no plans to branch into it to put it there. So, and we have King Snake coming back. I'll probably put most of my information up there.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I'll probably do that.
Yeah, I got a king snake account. I mean, I had one, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago or whatever, but
Yeah,
um
I just redid mine. I haven't put any snakes on, but I haven't put any snakes for sale anyways because I can't. Shipping sucks right now. So, um, I kind this is kind of like the time of year I kind of take a break from posting shit for sale. I actually got to take a bunch of stuff down off of Morph Market.
right. Right.
I'm not sure if I'm going to even renew my Morph Market, or I might drop it down to something really low because I got to tell you, it has not. I've not got a lot of traction from Morph Market. It was doing good for a little bit, but holy shit. I honestly, I'm hoping King Snake separates mainlands from Dors and Super Dorser from localities.
They
because
need, well, they need to. I mean, I think the whole labeling thing's crazy.
well, and I also mean like have two different categories, like have like uh, uh have a mainland category and have a locality morph purest morph and morph crosses, like because I mean anybody who's looking for $150 tiger is not looking for a $2,500 turn 8. You know what I mean, maybe I'm just being like, hey, let's make the world revolve around me, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying, like I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
if I want people coming to my site, um I want it to be I want them to be able to find what they're looking for at my site so they come back and they tell their friends. So, and I know Morph Market has like the search stuff, but I mean, wouldn't it just be easier to separate this shit? Just to have
Hmm.
like if you could do because at the end of the day, people that are looking for cheap mainlands are not looking for expensive localities. No, no, nobody's
Yeah,
ever said like, "Hey, I'm going to get this $100 tiger. You know what? I'm going to go with this $5,000 whatever." Nobody does that. So
no,
why are
no.
they in the same? Why is the person looking for the $5,000 snake searching through the sea of $250 snakes to find it? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big benefit right now, I think, on the morph market is obviously the shipping savings piece. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, but I distinctly remember Lucas. Um, I don't know. This is probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. Um, Complaining a ton about his morph market ads and account not basically not getting any views and traction with it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So, which by the way, I don't know if he's out of retics coming back in. I know he mentioned that he was kind of on his way out, or if he's still in. I have no idea. I haven't talked to him, but you
I
know,
heard how Mahara cells are good.
good old Halmas.
I heard those cells are doing
Did
well
you
for
say
him.
that he was selling those again, or are they back up or something?
They're
Or
back up or they were on hold or something. I forget which.
oh, okay.
I Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget which. I shouldn't even say that because I don't know for sure,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I've been wrong before.
Chris Shar says I'm having problems trying to post on Kingsnake, but haven't taken the time to investigate more on that.
Yeah, and
Uh,
plus they're redoing it while they're in
I mean, it's crazy because John's only been the owner for what, 2 months?
yeah, maybe
You know what I
three.
mean? Maybe three.
In the
It's like,
first month they couldn't really do anything. That was just kind of transition.
yeah, some politics in play there. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. So, I mean, you're taking an artifact, a dinosaur
Hmm.
of a website, and trying to bring it into 2026 is always going to be kind of a chore for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
I mean, a ton of cleanup work on that, but I am excited once again to see how they modernize it and do some of that because I think there's enough people that want to bring that back,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah, I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping on the retic front that they can set up those classifieds. Because when he saw my post about like no more dwarf, super dwarf, he's like, "Hey, I don't know if we can do." I'm like, "No, no, I'm just saying like don't have those as like labels and titles like that you can attach. You know what I mean? Like if somebody wants to call their stuff a super dwarf, but like some of the stuff on Morph Market got set up how Garrett wanted it. You know
that was
that
before Darian came in,
Yeah,
you
that
know.
was even before Darian came in. But like at the end of the day, like that is a 100% fact. That's why Kalatoa, was spelled wrong forever, and I mean, everything was set up based
That's why
on.
some of the other localities aren't on there too, right?
Yeah, yeah, they weren't
Yeah.
allowed to be called dwarfs.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just hoping I'm just hoping when King Snake does that, because we talked about having a system where you can put in clutch information and then click on it, and then it automatically puts that information into your ad, so you're not retyping everything 50,000 times. And I'm hoping they can add something to that, like you can check a locality box, like we're like, okay, this is this clutch here, and you can click a locality, then it gives you an option to plug in the percentage. And so like think about how convenient that would be. It's like you click on it says like Superdorf Motley, Tiger, whatever. and you click on the ad, and it's like, here's what it is, here's the percentage breakdown, here's the like, you know what I mean? Just everything you need to know is right there. Everything you need to know is right there.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think Morph Market's a great platform for a certain few, certain aspects. Ultimately, I think having a website and funneling most of your traffic there for your transactions is going to be
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
Um,
I'm working on Mayray's website right now.
oh, you are?
Yeah,
Nice. Nice. Yeah, he's got what does he have, one or two clutches in the incubator?
I
I
think
don't
just
know.
one right now.
Okay. So he's waiting, I think he's waiting for his other one. Or soon, maybe. Forget. But but yeah, I think having a website's gonna be big for everybody, no matter what. Because you never
Yeah,
you
I
never know, because if all your stuff's on Morph Market and that's it,
yeah.
and you're depending on that, I mean, you
And
know,
the other nice thing about that is if you can, Morph Market's fucking expensive. You know,
yeah, yeah.
so to be able to have, if you have a lot of stuff to get it all on there, you have to spend a lot of money to be able to do that. And if you have a website, then maybe you only need 10 snakes listed on Morph Market and just be like, oh, by the way,
Mhm.
but the thing was, they took down all my links to my website. I was like, for more information, go to my website, and they pulled all that shit. I'm like, really, Darian? Like, God forbid, you know?
God forbid you don't. Yeah,
Yeah, just totally monopolize every aspect of this. Yeah, but no, I don't see King Snake doing that. There's no way King Snake is gonna not let you have a link to your website.
yeah, that would be nuts.
You know?
That would be nuts. Um, yeah, I mean, just staying organized, and I think it's good because I don't know. I mean, it's been, I don't know, 6 months since because I was trying to verify something on my Henry female I got from Garrett. But yeah, it's unfortunate because I reach out, they stopped posting all their clutches, I think, on their website. It like stopped,
Yeah,
and they
no,
did it for 2 years.
they haven't updated their website forever.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't know if that's done on purpose so that, I don't know, you can keep stuff, under wraps, but that was always kind of fun looking back at old clutches and stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, having that on your website, I think, is cool. If you can track every year, different clutches.
Yeah,
But it's a
and
lot
you
of
can
work.
have yeah, and you can have so much stuff on your website too. You can build out a whole page for a single clutch for, just show everything. I mean, website, dude, for 20, $30 a month, like, why would you not have, in the convenience of being able to take payments, all of that, for people to go and look at your stuff, and that's the big thing. You don't need an elaborate website, at all. You just
Oh,
need
and
a
we are working on some shipping options too that
yeah.
we could potentially integrate. So,
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I wonder if they can get the shipping. Well, I tell you what, it'd be really nice if that software gets cheap enough that he's just like, here, put it on. If you got a reptile website and you need to ship, here you go.
yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
if you get that,
I mean,
even
that's
if
what I
that's like a
want with
hundred.
mine. I just
Oh
want to be
yeah,
able to, once, I mean, if somebody checks out on my website, I just want to be able to
one
print
stop
a
shop.
label, boom, you know. So,
Yeah,
yeah, we're working on some cool stuff. Yeah, I think this year there's going to be a lot of change. I think I think this year will go down as a big pivotal point in the retic space. I
yeah,
think it
yeah,
really will.
yeah. Either way, I'm probably going to talk to Reptile CU about getting at least some kind of link for my website, not necessarily integrative software, but just be like, here, you know, go get your shipping, and if it's good rates, as long as we can get comparable rates to King Snake, um, because I usually cover shipping, and honestly, I'm getting tired of covering shipping because I usually eat that cost. I usually just, in a very few breeders, you're not going to find very many breeders that eat shipping costs, and a lot of times I eat that cost completely.
Yeah. I
You know?
mean, yeah. Because once again, I don't know how it works. I've always done essentially all my transactions over the phone.
Yeah.
if it was Garrett or Lucas or Bob. I think Bob sent. I think Bob had me check out. I think he sent me an invoice maybe, but
Hmm.
everybody else I was just paid via Zelle or PayPal or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think having a good system if you're going to be a long-term breeder is important, and like a good checkout process for the customer.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how that I don't know how that works for Morph Market, like the whole checkout process, because I think you have to sign up for your own Square account and then they like check out that way,
Yeah.
right? So, but yeah, I don't know why. So you don't charge shipping? You don't bake that into your pricing?
A lot of times I don't.
Yeah,
Like if it gets up there, if it's, $150 or something, like then we got to talk. But shipping with Morph Market's been pretty cheap, but
yeah, it is.
I'm gonna have to start. I mean, honestly, because I got to buy the box. I got to, not that
It adds up.
not that going to meet the FedEx person, because I know where their last stop is in my town, so and then it goes 20 minutes to their sort hub, and then it's sent out to be on a plane. But I mean there's still time, the time that goes into it, because if it's $30, I don't give a shit. But I eat a lot of shipping, that's 50, 75, $100. I just eat it, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop that.
yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I mean, everything's getting more expensive and for everybody,
Yeah. So
not just customers.
I am gonna talk to Reptiles to you, see what they're doing on pricing, and then hopefully you can just get a direct link, and then people can go, you know, can go right off my website to theirs to get it, and then I get the notification to print out the slip. And actually, I have something here. Hold on. I got this thing. Hold on, I'm all tangled up, of course. I got this thing. It's a Rollo or Rolly or something. It's a little like laser jet that has it prints out the stickers for shipping. And dude, this thing's great. I actually disconnected it because I messed it up. I gotta fix it, rehook it up. But for shipping labels, dude, this thing's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's not that much money. I think it's like $80 or $60 or something. I don't even remember, but it's not a lot.
Well, I mean, I actually want to get some. I want to find a company or somebody that can help me make a custom box. Actually,
Oh, really?
um, yeah, because I know I'm pretty sure Garrett had Blake Stewart make all of his, but you know, I'm not sure what Blake would charge me nowadays for to do that.
Probably.
So,
I mean, I can't see him charging more than 30,000.
no, yeah, it's just
Unless
but
you do it over 5 years,
I
150.
have a really cool idea for like a box design, or at least with how it's gonna look. So
You just got to be careful because I know there's all those rules on shipping if you're shipping through a specific company. Like you have to use those like verified boxes for Morph Market, and I think you even have to do that for Ship Your Reptiles and Reptiles to You. So, but everybody gets that. Everybody gets that customized tape.
yeah, I guess I could do the tape. The tape would
You
be
know.
fine. So Bob's boxes are wild, man. Have you ever seen Bob's boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
freaking like crate looking boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it, but that was one thing that crossed my mind.
Yeah. I put no effort into the aesthetic value of my shipping boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless
Um,
if people want fancy boxes for me, they're gonna have to start paying for like you're getting a $5, $10 charge if you want a pretty box from me. If
yeah,
not, you're
you
getting
know
the
when
cheapest box possible.
when you go to Starbucks and the
Yeah,
barista does nothing and turns, flips the iPad around for a
yeah,
tip. That's
yeah,
essentially what I'm going to be doing. Just
yeah.
flip the iPad. You
No,
know.
no, no. Yeah, I used to get. because I used to build a lot of my boxes. I would get the styrofoam board because I didn't like that white and white or black styrofoam like press
Oh,
board.
right,
So
right.
I would build all mine out of the actual foam board from Lowe's, and they're super strong. Like you can stand on them, and they won't collapse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. You get the 1 inch or 3/4 inch. Yeah, you can actually, if you build a little 6x6 or 8x8 box, you can stand on that box with that foam board, and it will not. Yeah, you can throw it off a roof. You can do anything with it. That snake's not getting hurt.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like we just hit our 2 hour mark, so
Jesus Christ.
this was a good stream.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for your comments and stuff. I think yeah, Rodney and I are coming back out of hibernation. We'll be cranking some more content and stuff. I think it'll be really good. I'm really excited to talk to Jordan about his enclosures and stuff and
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
the ideas he has because he's a really creative guy.
Yeah, and I made a note because I completely forgot that we were even doing that today.
I know. I'm glad you said something because we booked that at the beginning of the week, I think. So, um, yeah, that'll be later this afternoon, evening ish,
Yeah.
evening. So
Yeah, and we're gonna as soon as we figure out how to use the our YouTube streaming.
I
I
know we
we're
got to
gonna
figure that out. If anybody knows how to take two different YouTube accounts and basically do a dual stream,
yeah
please
yeah
hit us up.
because like everybody on the thing is like all these people in the comments. I want to give all you guys an opportunity to jump in, jump on the video, come in, talk. Just have people coming in and out, like just hanging out, talking, doing whatever. You know.
Yeah, there's two different options on YouTube. There's a live stream option, there's a live, and then there's a streaming option. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out. That'll be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. So as soon as I can figure it out, I think I can do it through Riverside. I can just put out the link and people can jump in. But one of these days that we got time to kill, I'll jump on there and I'll just post a link and we'll figure out
Mess
how it
around with
works.
it.
Yeah,
Well, and there's also an option. I think eventually we want to do some I don't know, some private lives and stuff like that. I think
yeah,
we can do right too, which will be fun.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. We're gonna try to bring on a guest and then I can let pretty much as many people as I want into Riverside on a private stream. So if Eric Lee or somebody's on, you guys want to ask him a question, I can just give you the link. You can be in Riverside while we're recording, ask questions in real time, that kind of stuff.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So all right. Well,
All right.
have a good weekend, everybody.
Yep. I'm gonna stop this. Don't jump off quite yet, Spencer.
All right.